can have one loud Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر صلوات. دعاء معنى زمانة اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنوا أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين صلوات.
MashaAllah, that was a beautiful recitation. I would now like to invite Mahad for the recitation of Hadith Qissa. Wallah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Brother Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله صلوات. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسن قد عقبه وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوزي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدا، السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلا معهما تحت الكساء. صلوات. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عم رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومع بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وعامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، واذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. صلوات. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد أذنت فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وخفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وكسى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بعد دیگر صلوات اللهم صل على محمد. I would also like to request for the brothers to come and sit up at the front. So can we have a loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. امام جتنے ہیں سب ایک نور کا ہے خمیر. امام جتنے سب ایک نور کا ہے خمیر. ہے ان میں سارے محمد کبیر ہوں کہ صغیر. خیال ہے کہ نظر بندی مصور نے پلٹ پلٹ کے دکھائی ہوئے کی تصویر. جتنے ہیں. ایک سورہ فاتحہ. لا شک بر کی جو مقتل سے اٹھا لائے حسین. لا شک بر کی جو مقتل سے اٹھا لائے حسین. نوجوان کو صفے اول سے اٹھا لائے حسین. چاند کو شام کے بادل سے اٹھا لائے حسین. جابلب شیر کو جنگل سے اٹھا لائے حسین. جابلب شیر کو جنگل سے اٹھا لائے حسین. دی صدا لاشے پسراں کے لے جا بانو. چد گیا برچی سے اکبر کا کلیجہ بانو. چھد گیا برچی سے اکبر کا کلیجہ بانو. دیکھ لے آخری دیدار پسر مرتا ہے. سامنے آنکھوں کے یہ نور نظر مرتا ہے. منہ سے باہر ہے زباں تشنہ جگر مرتا ہے. اب کوئی دام میں تیرا رشک قمر مرتا ہے. اب کوئی دم میں تیرا رشک قمر مرتا ہے. دام ہے سینے میں رکا زخموں سے خون جاری ہے. ہائے بانو تیرا گھر لٹنے کی تیاری ہے. ہائے بانو تیرا گھر لٹنے کی تیاری ہے. پانچ خیمے میں جو حضرت کیے پردرد سادہ مضطرب ہو گئی ناموس رسول دو سارا. کہا چلا کے سکینان کے ہے بھیا. فضا دوڑی سوئے در پھینک کے سر پر سے ردا. فضا دوڑی سوئے در پھینک کے سر پر سے ردا. پیٹتی زینب مضطر نکلائیں باہر. بانو گھبرا کے کھلے سر نکلائیں باہر. بانو گھبرا کے کھلے سر نکلائیں باہر. شاہ کے کاندھوں پہ دیکھا علی اکبر کو نے ڈال. ہاتھ پھیلا کے یہ چلائے کہ ہے میرے لال. کیا غضب ہو راس آیا نا میرے بچے کو 18واں سال، راس آیا نا میرے بچے کو 18واں سال، ٹکڑے تیغوں سے بدن ہو گیا سارا، ہے کون تھا جس نے میرے شیر کو مارا، ہے کون تھا جس نے میرے شیر کو مارا، ہے رو کے بانوں سے یہ فرمانے لگے، سرور دین سر نہ پیٹو ابھی زندہ ہے، میرا ماں ہے جبھی سانس آتی ہے، یہ ہر دم ہے دم باز پسی، کچھ ان کا بھی ہے اور ہم بھی ہیں مرنے کے قریب، کچھ ان کا بھی ہے اور ہم بھی ہیں مرنے کے قریب، سب چھٹے اب نہ رہا کوئی ہمارا بانو، اس جوان بیٹے کے غم نے ہمیں مارا بانو، اس جوان بیٹے کے غم نے ہمیں مارا بانو، لاش اکبر کی جو
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. Ma'ameen, just a few things to say. The Maulana Sahib is on his way, but just before that, I would like to remind you that this is the first time that Dua Center has run a program specifically targeted towards the youth. So we can only do it with your help through the act of sponsorship. So please, this Muharram, have your heart open. You can always e-transfer the center through duacenter110@gmail.com, and there's many other ways to donate as well. Secondly, if you would like to recite something, or Noha, So Salam, whatever it is, come see me after the Majlis. And if, inshallah, if you do want to recite, we can get you in on one of the 9 days. And lastly, just a reminder that this is a Majlis in the end. Even though many of you maybe came here without your parents because it's a youth Majlis, just remember that it is a Majlis. So that comes with the respect, the adab that a Majlis deserves. That means sitting respectfully, being quiet when someone else is reciting, and reciting salam, salawat. So with that being said, I hope all of you respect that and understand that. MashaAllah, all of you have been very respectful so far. So I just ask that we can continue with that. With a loud salawat, I would like to now invite Dr. Shaeba Rizvi to the minbar. Salawat, please. One more salawat, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغه مدحته القائلون ولا يعصي نعماه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان أرض أفضل الدين معرفته ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خير المبشرين والمنذرين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا Dearest Mu'mineen, Mu'minat, my elders, youngers, we continue our topic of science and religion, but we're talking about a lot of different things. And that's because there's many things that religion says about life and there's many things that science says about life. And we have to distinguish what science is from scientific belief. So sometimes in the name of science, things will be said that are not necessarily true. Those are scientific beliefs. This means that not everything that a scientist is claiming necessarily has to be true science. You have to be able to look at the research and discern if this research is actually living up to scientific fact. Many times we hear the statement, research says, ... And whatever comes after these two words, research says, becomes haqiqat, becomes sadaqat, becomes truth. It's almost like when you say, when we in narration say, Qala Ja'far, Qala Bakr, then we are saying that this person said this, and then what we are saying after this is taken to be true because an imam said it. Research states is not like that. It's not always like that. And you should know that many times research that's showing you something, that's proving something, is not necessarily true. Let me give you an example. So there was an advertisement, television commercial. It was about a company that makes cereal. You like breakfast cereal? They make cereal. So this company that makes breakfast cereal said in the commercial that whoever eats this cereal, whichever child eats this cereal, will have a 20% increase in their grade. So that means that you'll go from a 60% to an 80%. You'll go from an 80% to 100% if you eat this cereal. Now, if you think about it, that doesn't make much sense. What kind of a cereal is going to make you more intelligent? But they said research proves this. That means they're selling you something and they're saying, we have proven it through research. Now, this is how dangerous the word research becomes. So somebody investigated it. They investigated the commercial, the claim by the company, and the cereal. And they wanted to find out, how did you come up with this research? So when they checked and investigated, they found out that the company had done an experiment which proved this. Nowadays, that's what it is, right? Scientific experiments prove things. So they said, we did an experiment. What was your experiment? Well, we took the children of one class, one grade in the school, like for example, 4th graders. And they divided them into two groups. And the control group and the experimental group is what it's called in research. So the control group, they said that those are the children that will not eat. Actually, they said none of the children should eat breakfast. So the parents agreed because there was an experiment. So all the children came to school hungry. And then what they did was the control group, they said, you guys don't get any breakfast. The experimental group, they gave them cereal, their own cereal. And then they found that when they ate the cereal, they gave them all a test. And when they gave them the test, the ones who were hungry, the poor kids who hadn't eaten any breakfast, got 11% less on average than the ones who had had breakfast. So they said, look, but they said this is only 11%. They said, yes, we rounded it up to 20%. So you can round it up to 20. That's nice. I wish my teachers had done that. When I got like a 81, they would have given me a 90. So they rounded it up to 20%. And I said, this only proves that you should eat cereal, or you should eat breakfast, actually. It just proves you need to eat breakfast. It doesn't prove that eating that cereal makes you smarter. So do you see how they try and sometimes trick us with saying things like, research proves? It's not that whenever anybody says research proves, everything they're going to say is true. You have to look at the research. If you study scientific research methods, you will see that there is a criteria. There is a way to see if it is true or it isn't true. So don't always believe everything blindly that comes from science. It's not necessary that it's true. And always remember that theory is theory until it becomes a law. So when we have a law in science, that means something has been proven. When we have a theory, that means it's someone's idea. Somebody's idea. Now, am I going to take somebody's idea over a statement of my prophet? I don't think so. Somebody's ideas, I could have an idea today. Are you going to start following my ideas? No. We have to follow what the prophet is saying. So what is the difference between the scientist and a prophet? The prophet is coming having learned from there. The scientist is one who is born here. Mind you, I teach science, okay? So when I'm doing this, I don't want you to think, because one time I was doing this seminar for, university students, and it was on science and religion, and I was talking about a little bit of the commonality between the two, that they're true, they're not against each other. At the end of it, one of the students said, I think you seem to know things about religion, but you don't really understand science very well. So after she said that, then we went and we had a discussion. And when we had a discussion, when I explained everything, then they said, oh, okay, now we understand what you're saying. So people jump to conclusions and they have bias against it. So you should know that I teach science. I'm not against science in any way. And I use scientific methodology in my life. But the fact of the matter is there's a difference. And a theory is somebody's idea. I'm not going to base my life on somebody's idea. I'm going to base my life on the truth. And for me, the truth is what the prophet said. So that supersedes everything. That becomes the most important. Nowadays, one of the main things that science tries to prove is that there is no creator, which to me is very depressing. Because if that is your idea, that there is no creator and everything happened accidentally, then why should I bother with a lot of things? What is the need to be good? What is the need to follow any rules? Why don't you just do what you want? Why don't we all become wild animals? There's nothing stopping us from being bad. There's nothing rewarding us for being good. Now, of course, one should be good for the sake of good itself. That's true. But the idea, you see, the idea is very depressing because there's no hope then for you in the future if this world is accidental. If this world is accidental and you came into this world and you developed from a monkey, some monkeys became you, some stayed monkeys, then what difference does it make what you do? What difference does it make if there's not going to be a day of judgment? If you're not going to be called to account for anything? If you're not going to be rewarded? Not only is it depressing because they're telling me that when I die, that's it, that's the end, there's nothing more after that. I don't have anything to look forward to. I don't know how they have that existence and don't go into depression. Oh no, wait, I do. They do go into depression. That's why depression is one of the main psychological problems of today's society. It's a big problem. And of course, they're not really helping. So if a prophet comes along and tells you there is hope at the end, there is something that's going to happen after this, somebody is watching everything you are doing, and they are appreciating the good you are doing, and they are not happy with the bad you are doing, and you will be rewarded for it, and you will live forever, and there is eternity. I would rather take that. Even if it's not true, it would be a better false belief to have than the false belief of no creator. If it is a false belief, I think it has an advantage. And that's what the Imam said. Your Imams have had many debates with atheists. So one time there was an atheist sitting in front of Imam Ja'far ibn al-Sadiq, as-salatu was. Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq is sitting and there's an atheist in front of him. And the atheist is not listening. You know, we worry about it sometimes. Sometimes we think, wait, am I all alone? People around me are not following the religion. I go into a school, I go into work, I go into college, university. There's so many people around me. They seem to be nice people, but they don't believe in Allah. They're making fun of me. They think that I'm being foolish, and they are so scientific and wise. I feel so alone. Now should I just start listening to them because I feel that loneliness? And should I get into that group? Because there's something within us that's very powerful. And you know what that is? It is the need to belong to a group. And that is one of the tests of your life, my young ones. Because most will not believe. And when you are on the path of righteousness, sometimes you may find that you're in a small group. Sometimes you may find you are alone. But that is not your weakness. That is your strength. Allah has said, أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Most of humans do not know. Most of humans do not believe, but there's something very strong inside of you that will make you want to belong. And when there's more people there that don't believe, you may be drawn towards that because you want to belong there. Do you know how powerful the need is to belong? There was an experiment that was done. And this experiment they put up as a video on YouTube. And it was a psychological experiment on the urge to belong. It was fascinating. This is what happens. The scenario is in an optician's waiting room. You know optician, the ones who check your eyes? It was the waiting room. And in that waiting room, they had this, anybody seen it? Yes, they had this, it was amazing. They had this person sitting down waiting, all alone. There's a receptionist, and one person is in that room waiting, and then another customer comes in. When that other customer comes in, they sit down. Now there's this new customer who's sitting there and the other one. The other one who is already there is part of the experiment. They know. But the new person that comes in, they don't know what's going on. They don't know there's an experiment and a camera over here. They've come for their appointment. They sit down. When they sit down, what happens is, after a few minutes, there's a bell, like a ding, and then this person who was sitting there from before stands up and then sits down again. The new person doesn't understand. There was a sound, and now this person stood up. They sit there wondering what happened. After a little while, there's another bell, ding, and then this person stands up again. The person sitting down looks at them, gets confused, and guess what they do? They stand up. Now they stand up, and then both of them sit down again. After a little while, a third person walks in. They don't know what's happening either. They sit down. Then now, after 2 minutes, bing, a bell goes, and then those two stand up, and this third person sees them, so they stand up. And after a while, you have about 10 or 11 people in that room. Now 10 people are standing up and sitting down. The first person who stood up, they've gone already. They're not there anymore. Now all who are there have no idea this is an experiment, and they're all standing up. At the end, there was one gentleman. He was older. So you know when you get older, you're a little resistant to these things. As you get older, you gain more confidence and don't have that need to belong to a herd. So don't worry, just stay strong and stay with what's true, and don't worry about the herd. The old man sat there and looked at them. They stood up once, they stood up twice, and he was just made faces. What's wrong with these people? Are they out of their mind? The third time even he stood up. Then they asked everybody, why were you standing up? And everyone said, and even the old man said that, I felt so uncomfortable sitting down because everybody was standing up. I didn't know why they were standing up. There was no logical reason for it. I could see no benefit in it, but I just did not feel comfortable standing out. I did not want to stand out. I wanted to be like everybody else. And this, my young ones, is what gets us when we are young. That is why you will keep good company. When you have good friends, you will want to be like them. And you won't worry about fitting into that herd mentality. And Allah is testing you. That is why He said, and you know what the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said? He said that, "O my people, even if you find all the world is sitting on one side, all of the world is sitting on one side, and Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib is alone on one side, you should follow Ali and leave everybody else." Leave the whole world. Even if 7 billion people are on one side saying this is right, and Ali ibn Abi Talib, your Imam, is on one side saying this is right, you should follow your Imam. This is what the Prophet is saying. Ya Ali. This is what the Prophet is saying. And when he's saying this, is telling you something, that don't worry if the whole world is against you. As long as you are on the right path, there is someone watching you above. Allah is watching you. The Imam says to the atheist, because the atheist isn't listening, right? Sometimes you want to debate with other people, you want to convince them, they don't listen to you, and you think that if I can't convince somebody, then I'm not right. That means I'm wrong. But that's not true. There's many people who debated with your Imams and they didn't believe. They still didn't believe. I mean, the Imam who knows everything, who can convince them of anything, even then they're not believing. So in the Prophet's time, they did not believe. So that is no big deal. That doesn't mean that you're wrong. That doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. The Imam says to him, okay, tell me this. At the end, when they refuse to believe anything, all of them know deep down inside. Deep down inside, everybody knows. This is in the Quran. This is in Surah Araf, verse number 172. It says in 172 that nobody on the day of judgment will be able to say, oh, I didn't know, I didn't know. Everyone will have to accept that they knew. Deep down they know. One time the man came to your Imam and said, and was debating and did not believe in Allah, did not believe. Your Imam gave him the arguments he did not believe. Then the Imam said to him, okay, tell me this. Do you remember one time you were on a boat? And he says, yes, I'm a merchant. I often go sailing. Not sailing, merchant boating, whatever it's called. Pardon my ignorance. And so the Imam said, remember one time there was a storm? And he says, yes, I remember there was a storm. Do you remember one time the storm, the boat capsized and you were drowning? He said, yes. Do you remember at that time you called out to somebody? So this is the knowledge of your Imam. He knows when somebody in the ocean is calling out to Allah. And this person, he says, when you called out to somebody, who did you call to? He says, I don't know. I was drowning in the ocean, but I knew deep down in my heart there was somebody who was listening. There was somebody who could help me. So I called out to help. I called out for help. And the Imam said, then what happened? He said, then the wooden plank came before me and I held on to it. And then I managed to float ashore because of that. The Imam says, do you know who you were calling out to? He says, I don't know, but I knew someone was listening. He says, yes, that is Allah. That is the force that deep down inside everybody knows that He exists. In the Quran it says again and again, if you ask them who their creator is, they know it's Allah. Deep down, they don't want to admit it. That's okay. Many people don't want to admit the truth. There's many things that are true, but people don't want to admit it. That doesn't mean that it's untrue. One time your Imam was debating with a person, same thing happened, he refused. He said, no, I don't believe. Your Imam said, okay, tell me this. Let's say I live my life according to the belief that there is a day of reward and punishment. You live your life according to the belief there is no day of reward and punishment. At the end of it, when we both die and we go, if there is reward and punishment, then I'm going to get my reward. But if there is no reward and punishment, then nothing happens. I'm dead and no one will know. I won't know. My conscience is done. It doesn't really matter. But you will be the loser if I am right. I will not lose anything if you are right. But you will lose if I am right. So this simple logic, even that's just enough to believe, besides the wonderful fact that, of course, it gives you hope. Science is telling you that you were created accidentally. Religion is telling you no. Hazrat Adam was created by Allah. And when Hazrat Adam was created by Allah, Allah created him in a very special form. And He created him different from the angels and from the animals. The angels were those who had intellect, but they did not have the desire that animals have. Animals were those that had the animalistic instinct and the desires, but they did not have the intellect that the angels had. And so Allah created humans and gave them intellect and desire in one. And now the ultimate test begins, because now the desires will be tested and the intellect will be tested. Your intellect is what makes you different from everybody else. And when Allah created Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, what did He tell the angels to do then? Why did He tell the angels to do that? He said, oh, all you angels, once I have created Adam, and after creating him, when I blow the spirit into him. I want you all to bow down in prostration. I want you all to do sajda. Why? Because he said, I am creating a caliph, a khalifa upon the earth. He will be the prophet. He will be one with knowledge and wisdom. So they were bowing down to the fact that Allah blew a spirit into Hazrat Adam. And that spirit was the spirit of vilayat. So we see that vilayat becomes very important. And what is vilayat to you? Vilayat is important? Is it part of your religion? Is it just something that you say? Does it really mean anything? Is it a name? I know people, their name is vilayat. I know that we die for vilayat, and vilayat is very important. There's some sects of Islam that don't even talk about vilayat. But what is vilayat for you? And when you define it, how do you define it? And where does it fit into Islam? What is vilayat in Islam? Is it in the usul-e-din? Is it in the furuh-e-din? Is it something that you have to practice? Is it something you have to believe? What is this vilayat? And vilayat by itself means guardianship. It's guardianship. But it's not just that. Tell me this, how did the world come into being? Even if you have a religion and you believe in Allah, and you can say the world came into existence, how did it come into existence? What does physics say about matter? We said yesterday that energy is turned into matter. That means you can take energy and make everything you see around you. This is coming from energy. What are you made of? You are made of, yes. And what's inside of here? There's atoms, atoms. Are you made of atoms? Have you heard the word atom before? A-T-O-M, atom. You learn it in school, in primary school. You are made of atoms. But where did those atoms come from? Atoms came from an exploding star. You're made of stardust. I think that's pretty cool. You're made of stardust. And when stars exploded, then that energy was spread throughout the universe, and when it condenses, it becomes matter. So energy is where you're coming from. But where did that Big Bang energy come from? That came from the first nur. And what is the first nur? The first nur is the nur of the Masumin. So the nur of the Masumin is the source for creation of the universe. That's why that is the nur of vilayat. What is vilayat? Vilayat is the means by which Allah created everything. Vilayat is the medium by which Allah explains everything to you. Vilayat is the means by which heaven is there, hell is there, reward is there, punishment, life, death. Everything that's happening is happening through the medium of vilayat. That's why vilayat is so important. That's why you cannot understand Allah until you understand vilayat. So vilayat is what? It is the medium of Allah's creation. It is the means that Allah used to bring everything into existence. Now, that is vilayat. And so Hazrat Adam now, he is there and he now has within him. What does Hazrat Adam have within him, and what was blown into him? What were these spirits? You. Very good. Very smart. It was you. How old are you? Are you 7, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40? How old are you? You know, you're at least 15,000 years old. Did you know that? You're at least 15, if not more. You know why you're 15,000 years old? Because you were created at the time of Hazrat Adam. Did you know you were created at the time of Hazrat Adam? You're as old as Hazrat Adam. Yes, you came into this world in a physical form. Your physical body is brand new. You've been here for a few years or a few decades, but your soul is as old as Hazrat Adam. Do you know why? Because in Surah number 7, verse number 172, that's your homework tonight. What are you going to do? You're going to go back home and look at 7:172. Do you remember that now? Let me say it one more time. You want to write it down? 7:172. Very easy to remember. There's 7 days in the week, there's one Allah, and there's 72 martyrs of Karbala. Okay? 7:172. When you look at that verse, I want you to read it, and you will see it says, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ, and when your Lord took, مِن بَنِي آدَمَ, from the children of Adam, that's you. And that's all your friends who are in school as well. And that's everybody in every country in the world that is living today, that will live tomorrow, that lived yesterday. From the time of Hazrat Adam till now. That's not 7 billion. That's like I don't know how many. We'll find out on the Day of Judgment. How many people do you think will have been born from the time of Hazrat Adam till the Day of Judgment? I don't know. 100 billion? Whatever number you want. So there's 100 now. And this 100 billion, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُم, which means that he took from the loins of Hazrat Adam. The loins are just this lower back part here behind your kidneys. This is where you were in Hazrat Adam. You were right there in his back. Me and you and all of us. مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ, and this is before Hazrat Adam is sent to heaven. ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. Then Allah, your Rabb, asked all of them to bear witness, عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ, upon themselves. And then all of them said, Bala. So what did Allah ask us? We don't remember, and we're not supposed to remember. That's the test. But He did ask us. So we were all there, and we looked like little specks in the sky. That's what Hazrat Adam says in the book by Allama Majlisi, Hayatul Qulub. Hazrat Adam says that I saw all of my offspring as little specks in the sky, little particles. That was you at that time. Now look at you with your strength and your speed and your cool hair and everything. At that time you were just a speck. And then He asked the specks, He said, am I not Allah, your Lord? And everybody said, yes, you are. And then He asked all of us, and everybody, I mean everybody, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, German, Italian, Sudanese, Egyptian, every single person said yes. Now they can deny it. At that time they said yes. This is the Quran. So the Quran is saying they all said yes. And then He said, is Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Is Muhammad not my prophet? And everybody said yes. And then He said, and is Ali not my wali and the Amir of the Mu'mineen? And everybody said yes. Qalu bala, shahidna. Shahidna means we bear witness. So all of us said this, we bear witness. Now He made us forget, that's true. At that time we all said, we bear witness. And then the verse says, the last part, what's the verse again? 7? Oh, mashallah. And so 7:172, and then He said, أَن تَقُولُوا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, so that you cannot say on the Day of Judgment now, إِنَّا كُنَّا عَنْ هَذَا غَافِلِينَ, that we were from this غَافِلِينَ. غَافِلِينَ means, oh, we didn't know, we forgot, we didn't know anything, we didn't know this happened. The Quran is saying they all know. They will deny it before you, they will say, no, there is no God, but they all know. Then what happened was, He said, I will test you. You have said it now. Now let's see if you have said it with belief and firm faith. And then He sent us all into the world one by one. So you came, your parents came, and He chose. He said, this speck will be your father. This will be your mother. This will be the son. This will be the daughter. And He assigned all of you into families. And when you were assigned into families, you came into the world. And you were all born, you're as old as your parents. Did you know that? That's right. That doesn't mean that you're supposed to disrespect them. That means you're supposed to respect them more. Because when He assigned you as children of those parents, that means He decided that you are to be the child and that is to be the father and mother. You are to obey them and they are to command you. He put love in your parents' hearts for you so that they would take care of you. And He put obedience in your hearts so you would love and respect them. And when your parents showed love for you, that would be through God's mercy. And when you showed obedience for your parents, that would be like obeying God. So now you have a way to obey God very easily. Just listen to your parents and know that Allah has made them the ones who will care the most about you and the ones who will always want your betterment. Your mother will always want what is best and good for you, and she will always strive for your comfort and your ease and keep you away from pain. And your father will always want you to be the best version of yourself, because this is what Allah has put within them. So then we come into this world one by one. And so now that time is coming. But it didn't happen like that. First, Hazrat Adam and Bibi Hawa alayhimus salam went to heaven. And then in heaven, they learned some of the most important lessons before coming into earth. So we'll talk about those lessons tomorrow, inshallah. What were the lessons that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, Bibi Hawwa salam alayha learned when they were in heaven? Because those lessons are very important for us today as well. Ek salawat par dijiye. Salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Ek dafa phir salawat par dijiye. माज़रत चाहता हूँ I would never look at my phone in this situation. मैं बस देख रहा था वो टाइम टेबल क्या है मसाहिब के हवाले से. So my young ones, we're back to the land of Karbala, the place where we see love and sacrifice and loyalty. What do you learn from Karbala? Have you seen the young ones of Karbala? Have you seen the children of Karbala? Have you seen how selfless, sacrificing they were? Have you seen that Bibi Sakina, despite all of her hardship, never had any harsh words for anybody? Have you ever heard her getting angry and shouting at somebody? Even though you're going through so much difficulty, do you see the patience they had, the sense of sacrifice they had? Do you see how good manners and politeness and loyalty was a part of their being? And this was very important. Today we are going to talk about the one who was free, the one whose name is Hur. And Hur is one who was born free. His Hussein said to him that your mother named you Hur. Why have you become a slave? Why have you become a slave to Yazid's tyrannical army? Do you know what Hur's mistake was? He was following Yazid's army, and he was a commander general in the army, a very brave soldier, very courageous, very strong, very famous for his bravery. And he became a high member in the ranks of the army. But there was something within him with which he was not satisfied. He did not like that he was on the side of Yazid's army. And he knew that Imam Hussein was correct. And he knew that Imam Hussein was the path to truth and justice. And he did not want to follow Yazid. But he also had accepted the responsibility, and that loyalty was still there. But he had to make a decision soon. It is said that when Imam Hussein came towards Karbala, at that time, he met Hur on the way. And when he met him on the way, Imam Hussein was so generous and so kind and courteous that Hur's love for Imam Hussein increased even more. When he saw that Imam Hussein, despite having women and children with him, said to Hazrat Abbas, "O Abbas, take water and feed it to these ones, for they are so thirsty." They had not drunk water in a long time, and they had run out of water. And Hazrat Abbas took the water they had kept for his family, for his members, and gave it to Hur and his soldiers. And then afterwards, they sat together and they ate and they prayed together. But then when they reached Karbala, it is said that when Imam Hussein set up the tents, Hazrat Abbas had set up the tents. At that time, Hur was told and was commanded to have Imam Hussein's tents moved away from the river of the Euphrates, because the tents were situated right next to the Euphrates. And when Hazrat Abbas was asked by Imam Hussein to move the tents, then Hazrat Abbas moved the tents away from the water. And it was after that they did not get any more water. And if they had not given that water to Hur's army, they would have had water till the end. But such was what was meant to be. And this was the way it unfolded. And Imam Hussein was not worried about himself. But for him it was more important to feed and give water to the thirsty ones. So he gave water to Hur's army, and his children ended up suffering and being thirsty instead. These are not people that are easy to understand, the sense of sacrifice. Do you know, one time a beggar came to Bibi Sayyida's door, and he knocked on the door, and he said, "Is there anything that you can give me?" It is said that she went inside, and she looked for something to give, and the house was empty. And all she had to give was the bed upon which Hassan and Hussein, her sons, slept. And she took that and gave it to the beggar. Can you imagine somebody giving the bed of her own children to somebody who is hungry? And she said, here, take this. She said, my children will sleep on the floor, but if you can fill your stomach with this and sell this and get some food, then I will be happy. This is the mother of Imam Hussein. And then Imam Hussein we see in the plains of Karbala. But Hur was very sad, because Hur's tent was very near Imam Hussein's tent. And Hur could constantly hear Imam Hussein's children saying, we are thirsty, al-atash, al-atash. They could hear Sakina, al-atash. They could hear the little ones that were in the tent saying, we are thirsty, we are thirsty. Can you imagine what that is like? Have you ever seen children crying from thirst? Have you ever seen children just saying for days, we are thirsty, we are thirsty? We do not see that. We do not hear that, because we have been blessed and we have not been tested that way. And whenever we want water, we can have water. It is only those who know what thirst is who are in Karbala. Any parent who tries to imagine their child saying for 3 days, Baba, I am thirsty, Mama, I am thirsty. It is an unimaginable pain. It is something that is impossible to live through. This was the test of Karbala. This was seeing them. Can you imagine seeing your 6-month-old child withering away before your eyes? Can you imagine seeing that child losing weight, lips drying, getting cracked, the tongue now starting to stick out, every breath becoming difficult? Do you know when you are very thirsty, your tongue becomes like thorns inside your mouth? It starts to hurt just when you try to swallow. Every breath becomes painful. This was the little ones in Karbala, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 6 months old. Your Imam Bakr is 4 years old in Karbala, 3 years old in Karbala. Sakina is 5 years old. Ali Asghar is 6 months old. This is what Hur is hearing again and again. And he knows, I cannot be on the right side. How can I be on the right side when there are little children who are suffering, little children who are dying of thirst? Hur becomes very worried. Hur becomes very, very worried. He starts pacing in his room. His brother looks at him. His brother says, oh, Hur, what is wrong? Are you scared to fight tomorrow? Are you scared to fight because Abbas is going to be there, the brave one? Is that why you are worried? He says, I do not fear death. I do not fear death. I am worried about the day of judgment. How will I stand before the Prophet? How will I stand before him when he asks me, oh Hur, what did you do to my children? How did you let them die of thirst like this? Hur doesn't know what to do. Hur is pacing. Then his son comes and he says to his brother and son, he says that I cannot stay in Yazid's army anymore. I will go to Hussein's army. So he stands up and he says, I'm going to go now. He says that you can stay if you want to, but I shall go. But his son and his brother say to him, oh Hur, while you were in hell, you wanted us to be with you. Now you are going towards heaven and you want to leave us all alone here? No, we will go with you. But Hur says, I don't know how to go. I don't know how to go and face Hussein. They say, why? He says that I stopped the horse of Hussein. I held it with my hand. I was very rude to him. I don't know how I will face him. His children now are thirsty and hungry because of me. What will I do? They say, we will go with you, do not worry. He says, no, I must go as a prisoner. I want you to blindfold me. He says, I want you to blindfold me and tie my wrists and tie my hands. And then when his hands are tied and he's blindfolded, he says, now lead me towards the tent of Hussein. I want to fall at the feet of Hussein and I want to beg him for forgiveness. So as he is walking, his brother and his son, their eyes are open and they say, Allahu Akbar. And he says, what is wrong? He says, is somebody coming with a sword to fight us now? He says, no. He has sent Ali Akbar. He says, Ali Akbar is coming towards us with his arms open wide. He is coming to welcome us, O Hur. And then after a while, he says, Ali, Allahu Akbar again. And now Hur says, what is wrong? And he says, now I can see Abbas coming. He has sent Abbas. Abbas is coming to welcome you, O Hur. And then finally he says, Allahu Akbar again. And they say, what is wrong? And now he says, Hussein himself is coming. Hussein is coming. And when Hussein comes, then he gives Hur embrace embraces him. And when he embraces him, Hud says, I cannot be embraced by you. I have done great wrong. And he falls at his feet and he picks Hud up and takes off his blindfold and unties him and says, Hud, you are my guest. He says, forgive me, master, forgive me. And Imam Hussain says, no, Hud, forgive me, because when you came to me as my enemy, I fed you and gave you water. And now you come to me as my brother and my friend, and I have nothing to give you. فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ أَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. ماتم حسین.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ یہ خون ناحق چھپے گا کیوں کر، یہ خون ناحق چھپے گا کیوں کر، جسے یہ دنیا چھپا رہی ہے، جسے یہ دنیا چھپا رہی ہے۔ حسین مقتل میں لے کے اصغر قبر بنانے کو چل پڑے ہیں، رباب لوگوں تڑپ تڑپ کر، رباب لوگوں تڑپ تڑپ کر عزائے اصغر منا رہی ہے، عزائے اصغر منا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ تمام عالم کو یہ دکھایا، کٹا کے گردن کو دی بچایا، مگر یہ امت ابھی بھی آلے، مگر یہ امت ابھی بھی آلے۔ نبی کو لوگوں ستا رہی ہیں، نبی کو لوگوں ستا رہی ہیں۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ عجب ہے کرب و بلا کا منظر، رواں ہے جب کہ گلے پہ خنجر، عرش بھی کروٹ بدل رہا ہے، عرش بھی کروٹ بدل رہا ہے۔ سکینہ آنسو بہا رہی ہے، سکینہ آنسو بہا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ حسین لاشا جوان لے کر چلے ہیں مقتل سے سوئے خیمے، مگر ضعیفی قدم قدم پر، مگر ضعیفی قدم قدم پر اٹھا رہی ہے، بٹھا رہی ہے، اٹھا رہی ہے، بٹھا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ حسین مقتل میں جا رہے ہیں جوان بیٹے کی لاش اٹھانے، مگر ضعیفی قدم قدم پر، مگر ضعیفی قدم قدم پر اٹھا رہی ہے، بٹھا رہی ہے، اٹھا رہی ہے، بٹھا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ جناب آدم، جناب عیسیٰ، جناب مریم، جناب زہرا، حسین ابن علی کے غم میں، حسین ابن علی کے غم میں اجل بھی آنسو بہا رہی ہے، اجل بھی آنسو بہا رہی ہے۔ حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ یہ خون ناحق چھپے گا کیوں کر، یہ خون ناحق چھپے گا کیوں کر، جسے یہ دنیا چھپا رہی ہے، جسے یہ دنیا چھپا رہی ہے۔ یا حسین لہو کی خوشبو، حسین تیرے لہو کی خوشبو فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے، فلک کے دامن سے آ رہی ہے۔ یا حسین یا حسین۔
ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، سینے اسے لگاؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، سینے اسے لگاؤ، مہمان کو ہمارے، مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، سینے اسے لگاؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، سینے اسے لگاؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، سینے اسے لگاؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، مہمان کو ہمارے، مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، اسے لگاؤ، ہر آ، خود یاد ہوگا اس کو پانی تھا اس نے روکا، خوددار وہ بہت ہے شرمندہ ہم سے ہوگا، پیاسے ہیں سارے بچے اس کو نہ یہ بتاؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، لگاؤ، ہر آ رہا، دیکھو وہ چل رہا ہے میدان میں لڑکھڑا کر، گرنے سے پہلے اکبر اس کو سنبھالو جا کر، اے میرے شاہزادے جلدی قدم بڑھاؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، ہر آ، عباس اپنے دل سے ہر بات صاف کر دو، ماں فاطمہ کے صدقے ہر کو معاف کر دو، جا کر علم کے اس کو سائے میں لے کے آؤ، ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر، ہر آ رہا، بیٹا حسین قیدی کیسے کسی کو دیکھے، میری طرف سے کھولو تم اس کے ہاتھ جا کے، بابا خفا نہیں ہے جا کر اسے بتاؤ، ہر آ رہا سے لگاؤ،
ہرا رہا ہے اکبر. ہے تم سے بھی پہلے مرنے جائے گا اس کا بیٹا. جی بھر کے دیکھ لے وہ اپنے پسر کا چہرہ. کم وقت رہ گیا ہے جا کر اسے بتاؤ. ہرا رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ. ہرا رہا ہے اکبر تا حشر یہ کریمی سب یاد ہی رکھیں گے. مہمان کا پسینہ خود صاف ہم کریں گے. فضا ہماری ماں کا رومال لے کے آؤ. ہرا رہا ہرا رہا ہے جس دم سنی علی کی بیٹی نے یہ صدائیں. آنسو بہا کے اس کو دینے لگی دعائیں. بچوں سے پھر یہ بولی ہر کو گلے لگاؤ. ہرا رہا ہے ہرا رہا ہے اکبر. ماں فاطمہ کے لب پر اس کے لیے دعا ہے. غربت میں اس نے ہم پر احسان کر دیا ہے. حر کے غلام کو بھی عزت سے لے کے آؤ. ہرا رہا ہے گاؤ. ہرا رہا مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ. ہرا رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ.
حسین حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین. اللہم صلی علی محمد. توجہ زیارت. السلام علیک یا ابا عبداللہ. السلام علیک یا ابن رسول اللہ. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علیک یا مولاي وعلى أنصارك مستشهدين معك جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا مغيث الشيات والزوار في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس. السلام عليك المدفون بأرض الدوس أبو الحسن علي بن موسى رضا وراز بالقدر. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك مامسي والجان. السلام عليك شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا قوم التخري السلام عليك يا قوم الكفر والطغيان. ورجى الله فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك ودهورك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله